Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday night, Dr. Stacy's Q&A wellness webinar. And I'm elated to be here with you all again. Those of you who do not know me, my name is Laura Balzer. I'm a Senior Presidential Director with IceWave. I have been a part of IceWave for a little over 3 years, and as many of you have heard me say, I cannot even believe that when it comes out of my mouth, but I have been, and it has been a complete and utter joy of my life to be a part of this company and being able to help so many people. But tonight we have an incredible lineup. Last week, if you joined us, we had 3 incredible women, doctor and practitioners with us. And we thought it only fitting that we gave the men on our teams, these doctors, these practitioners, the ability to come and share with each one of you. So if you don't have pen and paper, I encourage you to go get that immediately. But before we get started, I do want to take some time again and thank my co-host, Lee Stasny, SPD, who is hosting with me and letting people in. Leah, thank you for always being here. But again, as always, I do want to remind everybody that the information that you are going to receive here tonight is for educational purposes only. Even though we have an MD on board, we have 2 chiropractors here with you this evening, we are, or they are, not your doctors. We want to make sure that you are always seeking the advice of your practitioners whenever you embark on something new. You might not know what you're educating them on as well. And of course, as always, if you're pregnant or nursing, please get in touch with your practitioner. Let them know what you're starting, and always seek that advice. So with that said, I am going to introduce to you Dr. Dawn Verholtz. Dawn and I have known each other for a very long time. Don is an incredible man, an incredible physician, and has been there for me and my family more than one time. And so I'm very, very gracious and have much gratitude for him. So Don, I'm going to let you extend that what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit about yourself, your background, how you got started, how you were introduced to this technology, and where are you with it now, not only yourself, but with the people that you help.
Thank you. I am truly excited and completely honored to be part of this tonight, to be part of this company. As you said, we've been friends for many, many years. And I love how we start with the disclaimer, you know, I'm a doctor, but I'm not your doctor. And we don't make medical claims on patches. They're not intended to diagnose or treat any sickness and disease. I get a kick out of it, Laura, because in the old days when I spoke, I used to have to say, you know, consult your physician before embarking on a exercise program, because I always teach people to exercise. And then I used to kind of tongue-in-cheek laugh and say, you know, the truth is, if you don't start an exercise program, you're probably going to be consulting your physician. So we love to tell you the truth about these patches. And I am well, first of all, I've been 40 years as an MD doing natural alternatives. My wheelhouse is teaching people how to get off pharmaceuticals when possible, and it's not always possible, but when possible, to use natural alternatives. I do that by detoxifying the body, balancing the immune system. I call it the health equation. Detoxification is basically fortifying colon function, supporting the liver and kidney function, and getting the fat out, which is where toxins hide. And then I teach balancing the immune system, which is both nutritional and lifestyle. I use vitamins, minerals, herbs, because your food should be your medicine and your medicine should be your food. You are what you eat, or technically you are what you ate. I've written 4 books on the subject of longevity in these 40 years, and I can summarize what I believe and teach as known as 10 keys that cure. This is my book, Do This and Live Healthy. It's on Amazon, Dr. Dawn Verholtz, and I would love you to read it because it's my passion and my career's work, but I'll summarize it this. These are 10 things that are important for your health, but not the only things. Learn to relax, get to bed on time, and do your exercise. Breathe fresh air when the sun's out there, and eat like this little rhyme: fruits and vegetables, whole grains, white if you choose meat. Drink what you're mostly made of. Water makes your health complete. These are foundational things for your health. They're like building a house, and they're the basement. You could have the finest 50-year shingles like I just got my roof replaced with, and you could have diamond doorknobs. I don't have those. But if you don't have a basement, it's going to come crashing down. These are the foundational things, and we need to be aware of all of these things. But another tool in our tool chest is now these patches. And so how did I get introduced? Well, Susan and I have been in this industry for 40 years. I've really been in it longer than that, but I've seen a lot of things come down the pipe. And when I first heard about this, we heard about it because two of our best friends, a couple that worked with us, had tremendous results. He got his blood pressure to go down, and he's also a natural alternative physician, and he knows as much about natural alternatives as I do. He actually formulated some of the greens products that we recommend that we made with my company. And we tried different things for his blood pressure and nothing worked. And after a few months of patching, his blood pressure went down. Wow. Now, we're not saying patches did that, but that's the only thing he changed. His wife had carpal tunnel syndrome, and she was wearing a brace on her wrist for years. And same thing, after a few months, it was cured. And then there were people using, kind of getting like a natural facelift, looking many years younger after using the patches. Well, we heard about it, and I knew about stems, or about master rejuvenating cells there. I almost slipped, didn't I? Even though the 20-year global patent doesn't say it's on master rejuvenating cells, it says the scientific term, but whatever. By the time you are 35, you have lost half of your master regenerating cells. And those cells can become anything you need. If you need help in your cardiovascular system, they can become a heart muscle cell or an endothelial cell lining the blood vessels, which is where plaquing occurs and that causes high blood pressure and strokes and other issues like that. So a rejuvenating cell can become anything. And you lose 50% of them by the time you're 35. Well, you lose 90% by the time you're 65. And at that time, I just had my 68th birthday. I was 66. And I'm like, wow, I knew about traditional therapy that was, we would concentrate these regenerating cells from bone marrow or from fatty tissue and inject it into people, but it's limited to like joints, local things. You can't use it on systemic things like degenerative diseases, the big killers, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, because they're systemic. It's not localized. And there's marginal success with that traditional therapy, but it's very expensive. And now you got to go out of the country. It can cost $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for one round of treatment. So that's what I knew about that. And when Susan came to me and was excited and she said, I want to put these patches on, I was like, Susan, I didn't get it. I didn't believe that it was scientific. It sounded crazy. So if you share with someone and they look at you like a calf at a new gate, like, what? This makes no sense. I don't believe it. I think they're in good company. That was me. And I actually, I told Susan, look, I'm a physician. I'm not going to tell people to put a sticker on their neck and it'll heal. That's what my impression of it when I first heard it. And I said I was born at night, but not last night. So I actually studied it to show her, to prove to her that there was no science to it. Well, lo and behold, I found over 80 clinical studies. And I know science and how to read science. I taught biochemistry at the University of Michigan before I went to Wayne State Medical School. And I saw 80 clinical studies that were not done by the company. They're independent. Some of them done at the University of Ireland, the #2 stem cell research facility in the world. I can say that, can't I? And there were double-blind, placebo-controlled, and some peer-reviewed. That means you do your study, give your conclusion, turn it to your colleagues and say, is my study valid? And they are. It's valid. There's a 20-year global patent on this technology. We're about 3 or 4 years in. So we've got, 16, 17 years where it's exclusive. No one else is going to have this. You may hear some companies making claims. Ask them about the science. Ask them about the studies. So I became a believer looking into it, and I'd highly recommend you send people to do the research. And when they do, they'll find out. If someone's really skeptical and they're very intelligent, I'd send them to pubmed.gov. That's accepted science all over the world. It's got nothing to do with our company. And you can type in pluripotent stem cells and then whatever entity you want to study. And there's 5,000 hours of research on that. And I know a friend of mine that has read all 5,000 hours. So you know what these master regenerating cells can do for any kind of entity. And so I got kind of excited about it, but I'm still concerned. Number one, I want to know, is it safe? And I answered that question because I found out it's non-transdermal. Transdermal means it goes through your skin like an estrogen or nicotine pack. The chemicals in the patch, put it on, it goes through. There's no chemicals transferred from your body from this patch. It's about the size of a quarter. I have it on my C7. That's where we wear this master regenerating patch. 12 hours activation, and it's basically spent. You toss it, it's done. There's about enough left on it for a dog or cat. But 12 hours on activation, 12 hours off for restoration. And so I want to know, is it safe? Well, there's no side effects because there's no chemicals involved. I don't even have to ask people what pharmaceuticals they're on, what over-the-counter medications, what vitamins, minerals, herbs they're taking, because it works the way your body's been working all your life. It's really as simple as the sun hitting your skin and making vitamin D. That's photobiomodulation. Photo, light, bio, the body, modulation, changing the body with light. It's been happening to every one of us every day of our life when we're exposed to the sun. The inventor of this, and maybe we'll talk later about that, David Schmidt, knew that, and he was an inventor in the bioelectric field, and he found a way to capture your body's own energy, infrared energy, the heat energy that we all have. If you're 98.6, if you can fog a mirror, you're breathing, you've got heat energy coming off, and the patch media hits this organic amino acids in a stereoisomer microcrystalline form. That means it'll make a wavelength of light very specific that's reflected in your body, and that's what's clinically studied to activate and increase in number these master rejuvenating cells, literally reverse aging. Every 6 weeks that you wear this patch, this master rejuvenating patch, de-ages your cardiovascular system 8 weeks. That's a phenomenal statement. When I first heard that, I thought, if that was true, everybody in the world would want these. Well, it is true, and everybody in the world does want these when they find out about it and understand it. The biggest challenge.
So Don, I'm going to stop you, if I may. Okay. Susan brings you this patch. You think she's lost her mind. You do all your research because that's what you do. You're a digger. You want to find out what's going on. So you finally put this on. Mm-hmm. What happens?
Nothing. And that was my concern. And that's the biggest challenge. And I'm glad you asked that, because the biggest challenge is keeping people consistently patching until they get results. Now, I know now that it's 80% of people within 3 to 6 weeks will have something significant. What I hear most often, sleeping better, energy, wound healing improvement, clearer, more focused thinking, better stamina. But sleeping is probably the most common, better sleeping, which is so important as we get into our mature years. That's when the daily memory is uploaded to the cerebral cortex, and that's why older people sometimes lose their short-term memory. So that's a huge benefit right there. But that's 80% of people 3 to 6 weeks. That means 10% are quicker than that. We call them one patch wonders, 1 week wonders, 1 month wonders. But some can be on the other side, another 10% that can take up to a month for every decade of life. For me, that'd be 7 months. I'll tell you one thing, patches won't work unless you wear them consistently. That's the challenge, keeping people wearing them consistently until they get the results. So I started wearing. Nothing happened. 5 weeks in, I say to Susan, not doing anything to me. She had great results. She got a brace she was wearing for plantar fasciitis, didn't wear it anymore. I've been sleeping with her in her brace for 10 years. All of a sudden it's gone. That's been over 2 years, no problem. And a shoulder injury that she couldn't do the exercise class she wanted to with weights. She's doing that. But me, I said nothing. She said, well, you're not getting up 2 or 3 times a night and waking me up, because when you get to be my age, you gentlemen know that, and the wives of the gentleman you're with, you know that too, that you're getting up. Even if you don't drink anything before bed, you got to get up to go to the bathroom. Well, I wasn't doing that. And I have not done that for 2 years now. I've been patching 26 months. And that goes even if I drink something before. If I drink water, and I usually drink my water early in the morning because I didn't want to be up in the night more times than I needed to, it's no problem. I'm back to the way I was when I was 40, and I'm 68. I really do feel that way. So it's been phenomenal. My best results were months 9 to 12. When I had brain balancing. I've suffered with clinical depression for 29 years. And these last 2 years I've been patching, I didn't have it. Boy, that was worth the price of admission right there. So it's safe, it's effective, it is affordable. If this patch was $100 a day, I'd still do it, and I'd recommend everybody I know to do it for at least 2 months for sure. If it was $100 a day, but it's not. So I'm very passionate about it. I could go on, but let's hear from the other doctors, or what other questions.
Yeah, no, Don, I appreciate that. And we do want everybody to come back in, but I thank you for that. And so hold tight, mute yourself out, and I'm going to ask Dr. Jeremy. Dr. Jeremy, we need to get you up on the screen here. If you can speak, so you can pop up on the screen, that would help us if you're unmuted. Are you unmuted, love? Let's see. There you are. Let me ask you to unmute. There you go.
There you are. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Sorry
Lee's
about that.
got you up. You're amazing. So,
All right.
Dr. Jeremy, just like Dr. Don, give us a little bit about your background, the bio, what you do.
Okay.
And again, I want to hear a snapshot into your life, because I love hearing when people are introduced to it, but you have a whole list of clientele and patients, and I want you to bring that in a little bit as well.
Okay. Yeah, I've been a patient, or I'm sorry, a chiropractor since 2000. I've been into the cranial adjusting, anything, because I've got a special needs daughter. So anything that I can do in the health field that will help Jacoby progress and develop like a normal kid should. She's got a few brain parts missing. She has seizures. She doesn't walk, doesn't talk. She's still the best kid I ever know, though. But anyway, so when I got introduced to the patches, like Dr. Don, who I love, I wasn't buying nothing. I was like, this sounds ridiculous. I did, after about 6 weeks of my cousin Lisa has been friends with Dr. Don for probably almost as long as you have, Laura. So she kept telling me, I got to listen to this guy. I got to listen to this guy. And finally, I listened to one of his videos. And then the next week I went and I met him and heard him talk. But it was diving into the science that got me to do it. It was because when you hear about something like this, I'm not going to say, I guess it is. It's kind of Star Trek in the technology. It's something that people haven't heard of before. So you're going to be skeptical going in because it doesn't sound like it's possible. So once I figured out, okay, this is doing what it says it's going to do, I jumped in with both feet and put the patches on me. And within a short amount of time, just a few weeks, I felt enough to know that it was going on. Know there's some really good stuff going on, like the normal stuff, better sleep, better energy. I was more efficient with my time and my moves in my day. I was happier. I was more content, nicer to my family and nicer to everybody. Yeah, I was happier, more content. Yeah. But one of the coolest things was my youngest, Jacoby. She just had started her 4th anti-seizure medication, and it totally screwed up her circadian rhythm, which is your sleep cycle. She just turned 8 recently, and this is almost a year ago. My anniversary for patching is in about a week. Anyway, Dr. Don, the first time I heard him speak, said that if you don't want to throw the patch away after 12 hours, because you need to take it off after 12 hours so your body doesn't get used to it and not respond. I get that. But I grew up on a farm. I worked hard my whole life, so I'm not wasteful. So Dr. Don says you can put it on your dog's collar or your cat's collar and give them a little TLC. So I thought to myself, well, I could put it on my daughter. So I did. It's my choice. And after just 3 days, because I would get up in the morning, I put a new one on me, I put my old one on her, and in 3 days of her using my used patches, she was back to sleeping through the night again. And that was a good 8, no, probably closer to 10 weeks where my 7-year-old at the time was acting like a newborn. She'd go to sleep when I put her in bed, and then 2 hours later she'd want to party. And she'd sleep for 2 hours, then she'd be awake for 2 hours, she'd sleep for 2 hours. It was like I said, like just having a newborn again. So when my wife saw Jacoby respond so quickly with just my used ones, she obviously got interested in what she saw. So my whole family is patching now. And plus over 50, probably 60, more than 60 of my patients probably by now. I actually stopped even keeping track. Just trying to help as many people as I can with this amazing technology. Like Dr. Don said, you don't even have to ask what kind of medications or prescriptions they're on. Doesn't matter if they're taking supplements. Everybody should, because our food's terrible these days. But what I have found, I do want to mention this, and hopefully this doesn't get me in trouble with anybody. But a lot of, and Dr. Tag will agree with this, a lot of chiropractic patients are already kind of health-minded. They're thinking outside of the American medical system, outside the norm of society. They're already usually eating right and drinking water and exercising. So a lot of my patients, when they did the month for every decade of life, if they were young enough, 30, 40, 50, they might be in it 5 months and not feel anything that was, I would call, significant. Everybody gets better. Well, I shouldn't say everybody. It's better sleep, better energy, better focus. But some people are really looking for some dramatic pain changes and things like that. And Dr. Don will get back into this later. It's smart technology. If you got a bad liver, a bad kidney, a bad heart, it's not going to worry about your knee. It's just not. And way more things are important than your knee. So
Dr. J, not to interrupt you, but tell me what you're seeing, because I think everybody relates to other people's needs, right? Are they what I need? Share with everybody. We have over 500 people on here this evening.
Excellent.
What are some of the things that you're seeing in your patients?
Okay, so I didn't want to say that everybody has seen, and that everybody that's been doing these patches has seen the one patch wonder who in 1 week or 2 weeks has been dramatically, amazingly, blessed from God, changed. I had one of my first people. I've been adjusting this couple. They got in a severe motorcycle accident where they were both pronounced dead at the scene. They were both on their own cycles, and it was in the dark in the country. There was a car-deer accident in front of them, and they didn't see either the deer or the car. He bellies the deer, basically jumps the body of the deer, ends up in her lane, and she pile drives him into the car. So, and they're about 60-ish years old. I've been adjusting both these people. That happened 12 years ago. I've been adjusting both these people for at least 5, 6, 7 years now. And I introduced the patches to them, and they went and got on them, and they started. And within a week, he was pain-free. And I've adjusted him for a very long time. And I love the patients. And Dr. Tim will say the same thing. The guys that get off the table and give me a big hug and say, "Oh my gosh, I feel amazing." He was not that guy. I would adjust him, and he always came back. But I don't feel in my heart of hearts that I was relieving his pain more than 25 to 30 or 40%. I mean, with an adjustment. And this guy says he's sleeping through the night. And this is another point that I should have made. 12 years ago, he had the accident, 2.5 years to be able to go back to work. Okay. And since 2.5 years after the accident, he still would only be able to sleep 90 minutes at a time. He'd go to bed, he'd fall asleep. A lot of times it took him a while to even get to sleep, but then 90 minutes later, maximum, he'd wake up and try to stretch out and try to get back to sleep. And sometimes he could, but also there were sometimes he couldn't get back to sleep. So he was not sleeping at night. I mean, 90 minutes is not sleeping.
Well,
But yeah.
and you know, you and I both know that lack of sleep is horrific. It's debilitating on so many levels. Like, I'll admit it. I could take somebody out if I don't sleep, right? And then you have pain, right? And so then you have pain, and then you have lack of sleep. Both of those are debilitating. But then the body doesn't have the opportunity to rejuvenate and regenerate, right? Very quickly, before we have Dr. Tim come on, as a chiropractor, as the things that you see, share with people why that's so important. That sleep, that respiration, especially in your world of practice.
Yeah. Okay. You guys can hear me still, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you sleep is when your body rejuvenates and regenerates. So if you're not getting sleep, especially because of pain, your body can't heal. Your body can't heal. You can't regenerate. You can't get up and kick butt the next day. You will be in a vicious cycle, and it's not going to have a good end if you can't get any sleep.
Yeah, right.
But I've seen some amazing things. I had a patient whose wrist joint grew back after a 20-year crushed wrist 20 years ago. I'm adjusting his spine and some extremities, but he never even mentioned his wrist to me because he imagined it was a lost cause, and I probably would have too. A crushed wrist 20 years ago. And after he was on the patches for 3.5 months, put his fist up against the wall to lean on the wall, it actually extended, and it hasn't extended in 20 years.
Wow.
So I've seen some amazing things. I do want to finish my rule for my patients. If you're 20 to 40 years old, plan on doing them 6 months. If you're 40 to 65 years old, plan on doing them 9 months. If you're older than that, plan on doing them a year. I'm going to hit a year in a week. And I do not plan on ever taking the X39 or Aeon off. I mean, I've had 8 on at times. I've had 3 on at times. My average is probably 4 or 5, but 2 of them will always be on. X39 and Aeon.
I love that. Thank you, Dr. J.
Yes.
We appreciate you. And we're going to come back around and ask you a few questions, but thank you. So I'm going to have you mute yourself, and Leah is going to find Dr. Tim and bring him up for us. Dr. Tim, are you unmuted? Where might you be, sir? Hold on, we're going to find you. Not a problem. Let's see. Where did you go, Dr. Tim? Dr. Tim, can you unmute? Are you there? There you are. We got you.
There we go. It said wouldn't allow me to unmute. So
we've got you now.
There we go.
Got you all taken care of.
Excellent.
So I think by now, you know the drill. We want to hear all about you, the bio of you, how you were introduced. And I know this has been really helpful for you and your bride, right? You guys are partners in life as well as your business. And then let's get into a little bit of the patient side as well. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Laura and Leah. Yeah, my name is Dr. Tim Tagg, and I practice with my wife, Dr. Kathy, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. In October, we'll be in practice 22 years. And we do mainly, we do primarily chiropractic, and we do clinical nutrition. And I haven't really included anything in the office. That's what we do. And our main goal, people ask us what we do. Why do we do what we do? It's because we want to see people get on with their life. We want to see the grandparents to be able to play kickball and baseball with their grandkids. And, we want to make sure the parents can function at work and function raising the children, and just, we want the kids to be healthy too. We see a lot of kids in our office. So about a year and 3 months ago, I had a patient of mine, and he had this sticker on his back, and I'd examine his spine, and I never asked about it. I thought maybe it's like a testosterone or like a nicotine patch. So I never said anything about it. Then one day I said, "What is that on your neck?" And it was so funny. He knew exactly. He said, it's a non-transdermal patch. And what it does, it reflects you the infrared light from your body back into your body, and it activates pluripotent cells, which are cells that can become anything, and they go where they need to go. But he said non-transdermal. I'm like, I am all in on this. I was starting to kind of nerd out a little bit. I'm like, I need to learn more about it. So we discussed it more, and decided to order some patches for myself and Dr. Kathy. And, I weight train, I stay fairly healthy. I get adjusted, I get clinical nutrition, I eat fairly, I eat good, clean food. So I'm in tune with my body. And I started out with the dynamic duo, the X39 and the Aeon. So the X39, which it takes the pluripotent cells and spreads them throughout the body, and they heal, and they do all that good stuff. And then the Aeon, which accommodates the inflammatory process. As soon as I put those patches on, I felt more alive. And
Were you just shocked? Were you shocked?
I was shocked. I was shocked because this was before I did the intensive research. And I felt it was weird because I felt more alive, and I felt my light was brighter. And it's like, how are these words coming from my mouth here? I was in the United States Air Force. I was a jet mechanic. A plus B equals C. Okay. So something is wrong. We wrench it off. We put the new part on, and we ops check it. So wavelengths and frequencies, like this was a brand new terminology coming out. So Dr. Kathy, she got on them, and I eventually got on X49. So I was on X39 Aeon, and then X49, which is the performance and the muscle. And I don't get sore anymore after weight training, and my gains are better. I can maintain my muscle, and those 3 patches I will be on until I transition to eternity. Those are like my patches. So Kathy and I, we got our results, and then it's like, let's introduce them to the patients. So we introduced them to the patients, and Laura, they love them. Oh my gosh. And the more we research, it's like, start off with the X39 and the Aeon, because we want those regenerative pluripotent cells to go throughout the body. And this is not supplementation. This is your body's own light activating. It's a physiological response. It is so dynamic. And if, like, with athletes and people that weight train, I get them on X49. So those 3 patches, and people love them. We're getting patients coming in, and they're like, "Dr. Tim, look at my hair." They're starting to get their natural hair color back. There's patients actually growing hair back. Between X39 and the X49, which is known for, hair follicle support. And that's what these patches do, folks. They support the body, and they give the body exactly what it needs to be healthy. And there's a variety of, different types of patches. We get a lot of patients, and we've had patients that have been, like, over the past couple of years, they've made some health decisions, and they got the injection, and they're pain, and there's like neurological disorders. So we get them on the X39 Aeon 49, and then the carnosine. So all of that is supporting that cardiovascular system. So these people, they're afraid about about the clots and the strokes and the heart attacks. And we're patching these people up, Laura, and they're feeling better. They're like, "Dr. Tag, I'm getting my life back." And this isn't from the chiropractic, and this isn't from the clinical nutrition. This is from the patches.
Yeah.
And you know what else is nice, Laura? There's patients coming in wanting the patches. They don't want chiropractic, and they don't want nutrition, but they want the patches because they've been told about the patches, how they work, how well, through testimonies. And they start out because they're easy. It's like,
Yeah.
and I tell patients, folks, it's easier than bottled water. You take these patch, take the paper off, and you put it on. But you know what's nice is these patients, they patch up, and then after a lot of times after a couple of weeks, some will start feeling it immediately. Some may take a few months. It depends on their level of health.
Yes.
What I see is the more in tune they are with their body, the quicker they'll feel it. But this is an open door because they're like, Dr. Tim, I finally know what you're talking about. I know what it's like to feel better and I can sleep better, like the Aeon and that re-auto-regulation of the autonomic nervous system. So when you go to bed at night, you can actually get into that parasympathetic deep sleep and your mind shuts off. And then we got the Alavita, and then we got the silent nights. I mean, there's a patch for every component.
And you just want them all on your body, right?
Right. Right. And but but then they're like, you know what, Dr. Tag, I'm gonna start fasting. I'm gonna start eating by they get this taste of health. And then they start applying it with their nutrition. And I
Yeah.
just love it. It's an open door and patients love it.
No, you know what, Dr. Tim, I'm so glad you said that because, nutrition is always the basis for everything. It truly is. And, a lot of people struggle in that area. Maybe they didn't grow up with the knowledge of it and, or it's just it's just easier to grab something that's quick and just and get it in as fast as we can. But I have found that as well, that when people start feeling better, the brain fog lifts, the pain subsides, they're sleeping better, they want to make different choices. And I think that is a massive, massive win. Massive win.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. Because of the chiropractic, and a lot of people are in pain, and Dr. Jeremy alluded to it. Do you find with your patients that whether the first time they come in and they might be having pain, or you've worked on them for a while, how often are you having your patients use IceWave? Can you talk about that? Because the chat's kind of blowing up about pain a little bit. And so can you give a little touch on pain in the IceWave, please?
Yes. Well, there's no reason for patients to suffer. So when patients come in, we get a lot of low back pain patients. We get a lot of headaches, a lot of endocrine disorders, which cause just this weird, like dull pain, like in the arms or the chest. Of course, we get the neck pain. So when we do our chiropractic work, we know what we're doing. We're getting mobility back to the spine. We're opening up that nerve supply, but we will patch with the IceWave along with that, because there's no reason for them to be in pain. And they get better with the chiropractic, but the IceWave is it's the cherry on the sundae. And
the IceWave doesn't fix anything, right?
No,
It doesn't
no,
fix anything.
no.
It's just able to open up those energy channels quicker.
Yep.
So people aren't chewing on ibuprofen or, oh my gosh, there's a million different things that we certainly don't want anybody taking. But this cuts the pain. And
Right.
then you're able to take them to the next place with the X39, with the
Yes.
Aeon, with the carnosine, or whatever deems appropriate for that specific person. And that's what I love about these patches.
Right.
They
do amazing things. And it's funny, we've been, I'm doing more and more of this research, and I've been studying the apothelamine, and the Alavita. The Alavita is the patch you put on at night, and it actually supports the frontal lobe of the brain. You know what the frontal lobe of the brain does, folks? It's the action component of our being. So physical, mental, emotional support to that frontal lobe. If you feel like you're not doing much in life, or you don't feel like you want to do anything, but it's like you want to do something, but I'm like, I don't have the drive. Try that Alavita at night and get that frontal lobe support. And I have so many things that I could talk 2 hours on this.
No, I know. You know what? I'm right there with you. And I say it all the time and people laugh. My husband and I go to bed at night. We put the Alavita right here. It's very sexy, right? It's very lovely for both of us to go to bed like that. But you know what? It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that patch.
And Laura, like Dr. Jeremy said, I have patients come in and they're like, Dr. Tim, I just went to my primary And all they did was hand me a script. They wouldn't talk to me. And that's funny. They're like, you're my doctor now. I'm into this frequency. I'm into the wavelengths. And it's nice because it's such a great opportunity to be with this business right now, because
It
people are
is.
just open after like what we went through in the lockdown. And it's just, I just love this. I love this.
I, I love that you love it. And I know you feel this way, and I'm going to ask Dr. Jeremy the same thing. I'm going to have him come back up here. Has it given you a different perspective? Like you're extremely good at what you do. You have amazing training, an amazing background. Do you just feel with this, you're able to help on a level that you didn't think of before?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, in my opinion, it's like supernatural, and I get talking with patients, and I talk to them, and I'm like, I wonder if David Schmidt really understands what he's created, because he talks about it being downloaded from the Lord. And does he really understand? Because it's such a powerful, and it's patented.
Yeah.
It is such a powerful modality, and it uses your body's, own peptides and cells, and it activates.
Yep.
It's
I
just
love that.
fantastic.
I love that. Well, I thank you. And we're going to come back around a little bit. But if you could unmute, if you could mute yourself, we're going to pull you back up. And oh, look, no, we're going to keep everybody there. I tell you, Leah's on it. I am so excited. So, Dr. Jeremy, let me see. Are you unmuted? Let me ask you to unmute, sir.
I think I got it.
So, Dr. J, I hope you don't mind me asking this question. I want you to touch on this briefly, because I just always think things like this can touch and help. It's like a domino effect. So I was in Michigan, and I met your daughter for the first time, and what a sweetheart. Oh my gosh. But I remember you sharing with me the dramatic change in her laughter, her visual, her animation. Sometimes people feel like when they're in that situation, their hands are tied, or they don't have anywhere to go. Can you, we have about 15, 16 minutes left. Can you, because we want to bring Dr. Dawn back on here too, but can you just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. What I'll try to do is give how she was when she started, before patching. A few significant things for Kobe is she was not very active, pretty lethargic. She's in a wheelchair, and most people have seen the people in the wheelchairs that just kind of sit there like a lump. That was her 50% of the time, or maybe even 65, 70% of the time, depending on the month, depending on how she was feeling overall. She also did not know that she had a right upper extremity. It would just flop around, and she wouldn't use it. She couldn't use it as a stabilizer. She couldn't use it and she didn't even really acknowledge its existence. So, what else? She sometimes, her eye is totally improved.
Oh, we lost him. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
For
So what a parent really wants is their child to look back at them in the eyeballs, and connect. And with the patches, she is very, she's got a lot better eye contact. She does now know that she has a right upper extremity. She's not using it much, but she's grabbed my finger, and that melted my heart right into a puddle. She's 3 to 4 times more active, and she does not want her toys. She wants to crawl over to the side of the room and start tearing stuff off shelves. My wife loves to organize, and she loves to disorganize. She takes living rooms apart. She takes rec rooms apart. She'll take any room apart if you give her the time. She will.
And you welcome every moment of it.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. I smirk and say sorry, but not really.
Right.
But yeah, she's a different kid, and she's got, with this new technology, and the funny thing with Tim said, I wonder if David Schmidt, who I can't wait to meet that guy someday. I think he does know what he did. He's just that sharp. He is.
An incredible man, an incredible
I mean,
visionary.
I've never met him, but man, I can't wait. He's so humble, and what a gift from God this guy's brain is. But yeah, the technology, I don't know. I never really put limits on my daughter. And this gives me even more hope than I had before. I'm a very hopeful guy, and I always look at the silver lining in things. And whether, she walks and talks someday or not, she's gonna be my awesome little sweet pea.
Yes.
But with these patches, I don't know what could have. I mean, what master cells, rejuvenating cells can become anything. So I'm not saying she can't walk or talk. She probably will someday.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I thank you. We're going to see if I know. Oh my gosh. I just remember meeting her, and I was so touched by her, and y'all, you and your wife as parents. I mean, it was just amazing. But with that said, I'm going to see if we can pull Dr. Don up here with us, and there he is. So Don, let's get you unmuted, and let you and I chat a little bit, because we've been sitting here, and I hope everybody has enjoyed and gotten something out of each one of these incredible men. You've heard from all three of them the pluses, how this works, it being non-transdermal, how does it work? The clinical studies, the fact that we have over 90 clinical studies. And you've heard about these gentlemen speak about the brilliance of David Schmidt, our owner, our CEO, the inventor, the scientist behind this technology. This man holds over 150 patents. There is not men out there holding that number of patents. So please know that the technology that this man brings, and that we get the privilege to bring to the field, is tested beyond any means possible. It is patented, and it's the assurance to know that what we've all been talking about here today is exactly the power behind the patch. But Don, let you and I talk about the patch a little bit, and the fact that it is the size of a quarter. Somebody asked in the chat, well, how does it stick on the body? If it's the size of a quarter, well, you guys, it's like a Band-Aid. As you can see, it's stuck to my hand or my thumb. It's very smooth on one side, but sticky. And you heard all three of these gentlemen talk about light and frequency and lengths of light, wavelengths of light. You guys, all of this is transpiring from the center of this patch. This small piece of gauze holds a proprietary blend consisting of nanocrystals. Okay, it's organic matter. And when this matter or molecules comes together, it forms what we like to call in the field a crystal lattice structure. It's very easy for us to explain it that way. It's like a tight weave. I just want you to think of a mirror. So think of this little white piece of gauze in here as a mirror. Well, you heard these gentlemen talk today about our bodies. Our bodies are the power source here, because we are low-level infrared light or heat. We're always emitting it, but you cannot see it, right? So if I stick this patch on my skin here, you didn't see sparks come off my chest. You didn't see anything happen. But what does happen is the light that I am emitting, and all these gentlemen have their patches on this evening, the light that we emit bounces off the center of this patch, reflects back towards our skin, but it comes back in a very specific wavelength of light. And it's that wavelength of light that elevates a peptide that we were born with called GHK copper peptide. Now, we've been looking for the fountain of youth forever, and we held it all along, and we didn't even know. We're like Dorothy, right? All we had to do was click our heels. But to be honest with you, the peptide was only discovered about 53 years ago by the gentleman of the name of Lauren Picard. Highly respected, no longer with us, but I will share with you this book that you would want to look at. This is his book and all his research on GHK copper peptide. You guys, the things that you heard these gentlemen describe tonight that they saw in their patients in the very beginning was that elevation of that peptide. So I encourage you, like Dr. Don said earlier, go to PubMed, Google GHK copper peptide. The healing benefits that our bodies have within is incredible. And I want you to remember that this is a tool. It's giving your body, like Dr. Tim, I think you said, the support and the functionality back like you were younger. Now, Don, you said it earlier. Let's talk about some statistics here a little bit. 1 month's use for every decade of life, right?
Yes.
To get that total cellular pluripotent regeneration, zest back through the body. Can you touch on that briefly? Because we've got about 7 minutes left.
Yep, I'm going to call that the initial phase. And I agree totally with Dr. Jeremy, who said we need to be wearing patches a lot longer than that. I would have never got the brain balancing effects if I would have restricted myself to 1 month for every decade of life. I'm 68, I've lived 6, I'm in my 7th. I got those results in months 9 to 12, and I'm not 90 to 120 years old.
Right.
So I would not restrict people to think, David did design them to be used 1 month for every decade of life. Then at the end of that time, you have to decide what you're going to do. If you're going to keep patching multiple patches, 1 patch, 2 patches, how do you make that decision? Well, I think you don't lose your gain. First of all the gains you've gotten for your first month for every decade of life that you've used the patch, you don't lose that gain if you quit patching, but you will go back to aging the way you did before the patch. That's really the reason I didn't stop. I didn't think it was going to be so dramatically brain balancing. And then I had an even further benefit at month 23, and I'm not 230 years old. So I do want to just digress quickly about David Schmidt himself, because I count it one of the top honors of my life to have met him and to know him. I'm able to ask him questions. It is, he's a modern day Tesla, Einstein, Edison, all rolled into one.
Right.
And they were his heroes, and he's a inventor. His uncle was an inventor in the bioelectric area. And I don't know if we mentioned it yet, but it was initially how this came to be. He discovered the science of photobiomodulation, wearable light therapy, when the U.S. Department of Defense came to him in 1999 looking for a way to keep the Navy SEALs who were underwater in submarines for 36 to 48 hours. They want to keep them awake without caffeine or amphetamines. That was his challenge. And as an inventor, he invented the patch you're holding up right now, the energy enhancer. And it works at the mitochondrial level in the cell, which is the energy power pack of your cell. And that patch burns an extra 300 to 600 calories every day you wear it, even if you don't change how you're eating, exercise, anything about it. That's going to do that. And by the way, let's say you're burning 600 calories a day. You do that 7 days a week. That's 4,200 calories. There's 3,500 calories in a pound. How many would like to lose a pound a week? Well, you say, what if I'm only one who burns 300? You lose a pound in 2 weeks. That means in a year, you can lose 26 pounds. How many like to lose 26 pounds effortlessly?
Right.
Personally, I personally had that experience with that patch, but
yes, you did.
So he made that patch. That was X1, the first one. Then developed a number of patches, and the next one that was a really huge breakthrough was X15, which is the Aeon patch. We talked about it being anti-inflammatory. It's extremely important to keep inflammation down, because inflammation is a cause or promoter of every kind of disease, but it's essential when you're waking up your rejuvenating cells, because as one of the doctors said here, it's smart technology. It goes where the action is, and the action's where the inflammation is. So if you have inflammation, and we all do, if you're over 35, you have it. If you're obese, you have more. If you're sick, you have more. If you're over 65, it's off the chain. So we want to keep inflammation down. But when you wake up those rejuvenating cells, they'll get consumed at the beginning, some or all of them, by the inflammation. So that's why we pair the patch, the Aeon, with the X39, because you're going to get quicker and better and more sustainable results. Now, then the next patch, then several other patches were developed in X39. The 39th example was the breakthrough patch for the rejuvenating cell.
No. And that is the jumping off point for anything that anybody might have going on. So let's touch on something. We have 3 minutes. I want people to really see the benefit here and see through some of the clinical studies, and whoever wants to weigh in on this. I've been patching for 3 years. Don, you've been patching for almost 2. Dr. Tim,
2 years and 2 months.
2 years and 2 months. Dr. Tim, you've been patching for, let me ask you to unmute so you can chat.
Yeah, about a year and 2 months.
Okay. And Dr. J, how long? 1 year.
I'll be 1 year next week.
So all of us are a little different. I'll never stop patching. I'm pretty sure you gentlemen will not patching, but this is a statistic that I love. There's 2 that I love. One, I think is extremely important because it's the #1 cause of death globally. Every 6 weeks, and Don, you talked about the clinical studies with this earlier. Every 6 weeks that you put this patch on every day, consistently, you're giving your body or your heart, your cardiovascular system, the ability to function 8 weeks younger. Every 6 weeks. Now, you gentlemen know better than me that we all have things underlining going on in our bodies. Right now, we have things going on that we have no clue about that can affect our heart. And so to have that ability to keep our heart working at the highest level that it possibly can is huge, right?
Let me say something about that. We have the ability right now in science to age you biologically. Your chronological age is the number of candles on your birthday cake. For me, that's 68. But my biological age is not 68. I've been taking care of my body and living right and eating right and doing those things. And I'm much younger biologically than I am chronologically. And we can measure these things with things like C-reactive protein, a measure of inflammation, fibrinogen, a measure of cardiovascular health, telomere length, a measure of how long you're going to live and how strong. These patches are not on trial. They work. The question is, do you wear the patches consistently? And when you do, get the results. So the science is here. I just am really encourage people, whoever asked you to get on this call, get back with them and say, I want to get patching today. And what do you start with? Start with the dynamic duo, X39 and Aeon. But I tell you, Laura, personally, I started to call it the triumphant 3 because I want to get glutathione as fast.
Me too, Don. You know how I am.
It puts a quiver in your liver, and the liver is the organ that's facing these toxins. There's 5,000 toxins in the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe. Every day you're facing this, and you only have one body, this temple of the Holy Spirit, your earth suit. When this thing wears out, you're out of here. So I want to live long and strong, and I want a detoxification system that's fortified. That means you need liver support. That means glutathione. So I'm quickly kind of morphing towards, instead of starting with 2 patches, starting with 3.
Yeah. I call it the triple threat, Don.
I don't miss my glutathione anyway.
No, I love it. No, but I do. I call that the triple threat. I have the dynamic duo and the triple threat.
Triple threat. I like it.
Well, gentlemen, it is 9 o'clock, sadly. And I cannot thank you enough for spending your evening with us. Time is precious, and I know you have families and all the things. And I know the over 500 people that we had on here this evening are extremely grateful that you showed up. And like Don said, everyone, or Dr. Don said, please get back with the person that invited you here. We're able to customize to your needs, whether you're having a specific need right now, or maybe you're addressing or entering this because you want to be preventative. You want to be proactive, not reactive. And that is a great way or a great reason to start as well. We will be back here next Tuesday night. I don't know what we have on tap, but you guys will be the first ones to know when we figure it out. Dr. J, Dr. Tim, Dr. Don, we love you immensely. We appreciate you more. And we just cannot thank you enough for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
God bless.
Thank
very
you.
welcome.
Great to be here.